Best SEO strategies in 2026. Today I'm joined with Charles Floate. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And with regards to search engine optimization, there's a lot of change happening, especially with AI overviews and AI mode and stuff like that. People using ChatGPT a lot more. But from an SEO standpoint, what is working in today's algorithms?
From a purely SEO standpoint, we're really moving since the March core update into an algorithm state that is no longer meant to power the 10 blue links, but it's meant to power the AO views on top of them. So we're moving away from a algorithm that was supposed to promote authorship and supposed to promote expertise and trustworthiness and all those kind of things, and more towards an algorithm that is going to push content that can match consensus, that can match new and verifiable and factual information and all of those kind of things. So it's going more towards similar consensus, trustworthy content than it is going from the signals behind it. And I do see, especially with the newest algorithm update as well, user engagement signals mattering less and the content underneath mattering more. The links under that are still going to be what's going to be powering their ability to rank in the first place, though. So you need to be able to have kind of the underlying root authority and link power and that kind of stuff, especially in YML niches, to be able to get there in the first place. But once you're in, let's say, the top 1,000 results that they're going to push into the top 100, and especially the top 10, that's when the information and the content and the consensus and gain start really mattering.
So you're kind of saying there that with regards to EEAT, and then with regards to user signals, it is a factor within Google search. Mm-hmm. And on a live search, they're using Google search, or within Bing search, they're using that information. So it is an indirect ranking factor, but directly they're not actually pulling that information through. So with regards to SEO strategies that's working, what are you doing differently? Are you doing more now? So a lot of people talk about, let's say, topical authority on the website. A lot of people talk about link building. A lot of people talk about schema markup. A lot of people talk about technical SEO and trying to have the website to be as fast as possible. What do you seem to focus on the most now? You mentioned consensus. So I'm presuming you mean not just your own website, but third-party corroboration on other articles repeating who you are, what you do, and why you're freaking brilliant. So can you explain that a little bit further? Because I know what you're doing, and I think it's absolutely brilliant what you're doing, not just for ranking within Google, but now you've got multiple properties ranking in Google, and that consensus building is what getting into ChatGPT, it's what's getting into Gemini, it's what's getting into Claude and Perplexity and stuff like that. So can you expand on that a little bit more when you say consensus?
Yeah, so consensus is basically what Google understands that topic to be and what they understand the intent that the user wants, right? So if you're going to Google search buy hats, then it's a very clear intent, right? But if you're searching for information about some historical figure, well, it might be relevant to the time period that they're active. It might be relevant to a specific battle that they're involved in, or you might be looking for something else. So they might need a more generic kind of information source. Consensus is A, first what the user wants, and then B, what does all of the pages on the internet say about the topic that the user is wanting to search for. And then Google will try and build a map of that consensus and only push pages that match that consensus. Now, it can be a bad thing if you're looking at like scientific journals and exploration and things, because the former scientific consensus changes when new research comes out, but there might be 100,000 pages on this and only 10 on the new scientific consensus until it comes further forward. So I see Google making moves purely for the AI overview powering purpose than I do for traditional kind of search at this stage. When it comes to what I'm doing in terms of building the main piece, I'll have my main website piece, and that will be a really in-depth, well-researched, consensus-based article. From there, we're then creating other pieces that we're trying to rank for the same queries, but on third-party websites, parasite pages, some might call them, all of that kind of stuff, that reinforces what we're saying here that other pages might not have already said so far. So we're just adding, because bear in mind, you have to, if you're trying to rank for best CRM tools, right, the consensus might be that number one is HubSpot, or number one is Atlassian, or number one is whoever. Well, if you're trying to say, actually, we're number one, then you're not matching the consensus of all the other pages. So we're having to force pages into the index to match our consensus so that we're allowed to rank number one at the top of Google.
Yeah, so with regards to the best SEO strategies, like specifically for SEO now, so not the third party, I know link building forms part of it. On your own website, how important is schema?
So again, if it matches consensus, then you should add it, right? So I've always gone by the fact that if 5 of the top 10 competitors have the same schema, then you should have that same schema. If none of your competitors have any schema, then you don't want to be the odd one out adding schema onto the site. I don't think that schema by itself has any more of a direct ranking signal than your body content does. I think that they're effectively the same thing. It's just it's structured. So whereas Google is having to make an educated guess on your body content, the schema is specifically telling Google this data means this, right? So there's no increased ranking signal because of this. It's the exact same as your body content. It's just structured in a way that Google will be able to process it and apply it easier to your page than it will the body content. So it can mean more because it's easier to process, but is it a higher level of rank signal? No, it's effectively the same.
Then what about topical authority or on-page SEO? So how important is NLP? How important is semantic content? And let's say the internal linking of it all. Do you build like a semantic content network prior? So like a map out of these are all the pages we're going to have and this is how we're going to structure the pages and the internal linking and stuff like that. Is that key for SEO in 2026?
100% for your own website, yes. So I've tried to, whenever we make a new website, we will map out all of at least the core pages to make sure that we have got everything working that we need to from day one. So the core pages might mean that if you're trying to rank for link building, then your core page might be, what is link building? Who invented link building? Why is link building important, right? All of these kind of core questions and topics that are directly connected to the main hub, which is the link building query, right? We want to try and have all of those on day one live so that Google can process and understand and topically assign our website a site focus score. And that is the literal exact thing that is from the Google attributes from the Google algorithm. So the quicker you can get that site focus score, the easier it is for all of your new pages to rank for those other queries as well.
Yeah, so the site focus, obviously you don't want to do topic dilution. You don't want to go off topic. You want to be kind of very, very deep on a topic that kind of you're building that up with. Let's talk about off-page and link building. How important is powering up? So you go and get a guest post and it's on a decent DR, so the domain ranking's quite high, but the page level is not that strong. How important is tier 2 backlinks to guest posts?
If the tier 1 page isn't as strong as it could be, but it's on a really high root authority site, building those tier 2 links is kind of going to activate its true potential, right? So you're wanting to make sure that especially any links that don't have their full potential activated or are orphan links or don't have any signals going to them whatsoever, then you want to try and make sure that you have something that will activate and allow that juice to flow over, because Google is often neutralizing links now. So if you are just completely orphan link, sometimes it doesn't even matter if it is on a gigantic authority site. Google will still treat that as a neutral signal and you won't get any positive uplift. But if you can build one backlink to it, that could be enough to actually trigger a positive signal to move over. And if you can go from 0 to 10, it's a gigantic increase because 0 means nothing, right? And 10 is still enough score points to move over. So we've found that it's often the case that even if you have got some of the most powerful domains in the world, just building one or maybe a handful of links at that site can massively, massively increase the effectiveness of that backlink. Now, is it just links for tier 2, right? A lot of people think, tiered link building, tiered link boosting, you can only ever build links directly to your links. You can build social signals directly to your links. You can do traffic. You can do all of these bits and pieces to power up and activate that link. It's not just links to build at links, right?
What about virality? Obviously, there's a lot of people now talking about virality. So some people are doing it by spending, Dennis Shue talks about the $1 a day strategy. So he'll go sharing certain things on, let's say, LinkedIn, on Reddit, on Twitter, on Facebook, and he might go spend a few dollars on that to try and boost it to get those clicks through. Like you mentioned there with the tier 2s, to almost activate the page to get those actual clicks. There's certain people out there doing like pop under ads, whether that's like propeller ads, and they might be doing it through Etsy.co, redirect on Twitter and stuff like that. And they might be hitting 3,000 to 5,000 hits. So they're triggering this virality campaign that Google's going, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like, how important is that? Because they do get fast rankings, but they only seem to last for maybe 72 hours before they start dropping off, and then they've got to run it again and drop off. How important do you think that is long-term for rankings?
So, number one, a lot of people don't take into account the devices or the browser and things that the actual ads are in. If you're going to do, like, I would recommend, especially if it's a new website, especially in WordPress, all that kind of stuff, that you do that kind of strategy. Just because you're going to get user engagement signals that the domain and website doesn't already have. But those user engagement signals need to be on Chrome, right? They can't be on Firefox. They can't be on Internet Edge. They can't be on any of these other websites or browsers, sorry. They need to be in Chrome. So it's specifically CRUX, Chrome user engagement signals, right, that Google is pulling from. So making sure that all of your users, all that things in Chrome, yes. B, making sure that they're not just going to be random users that are going to click through what is this site and bounce back 2 seconds later. They need to be targeted. You need to get decent engagement rate, decent click-through rate, all of those kind of things to actually have those signals play an effect. They could potentially, if you just have a 2-second bounce rate on every single click-through, that could be a negative, right? So making sure that you're doing it in a proper way, especially if it's for new websites or in certain niches, it's a massive growth hack. But again, user engagement signals do seem to be temporary, right? And again, virality is always temporary. Nothing goes viral forever.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone who's watching this, I hope you like the episode on best SEO strategies in 2026. I do dig deeper with Charles on quite a few other topics to do with LLM rankings, to do with ChatGPT, to do with how to rank specifically just in Bing. Make sure you check out the links in the description, but hope you like the episode on best SEO strategies in 2026.